The repair bay of Vega 7 hummed with the gentle vibration of asteroid mining equipment in the distance. Jake wiped his grease-stained hands on his coveralls and glanced at the chronometer welded to the wall, another 12 hours until his shift ended. He'd been working on this remote asteroid station for 6 months now, fixing everything from gravity generators to coffee makers, and the isolation was starting to get to him. That was before Zara arrived. She stood in the doorway of his workshop now, her iridescent blue skin shimmering under the harsh repair bay lights. Her species, the Celestines, were known for their ethereal beauty and their insatiable curiosity about other cultures. This particular Celestine had been studying human customs with the intensity of a scholar preparing for final exams. "Jake," she said, her melodic voice carrying that slight accent that made his name sound like music. "I have encountered another perplexing human expression in the cultural database." Jake set down his plasma wrench and turned to face her fully. Over the past 3 weeks since her transport had broken down, stranding her on Vega 7, these cultural consultations had become the highlight of his day. Her innocent questions about human behavior were endearing, though sometimes they caught him completely off guard. "What's got you puzzled this time?" he asked, grabbing a clean rag to wipe his hands more thoroughly. Zara stepped into the workshop, her bare feet silent on the metal floor. Celestines didn't wear shoes, their feet were naturally adapted for various terrains. She approached his workbench where he kept his personal tablet, the one he used to stream entertainment during breaks. "I was reviewing your species' recreational activities," she began, her large, opalescent eyes bright with curiosity. "There are many references to something called Doggy style, but the database images are confusing. Some show dancing, others show yoga positions, and still others." She paused, tilting her head. "Well, they make no sense at all." Jake nearly dropped his rag. He felt heat creep up his neck as he processed her question. Of course, she'd stumbled across that particular term in her research. The universal translator probably didn't help with context either. "Oh," he managed, clearing his throat. "That's, well, it's complicated." "Is it a dance?" Zara asked eagerly, moving closer. "The positions suggest rhythmic movement. I attempted to practice based on the images I found, but I must be doing something wrong." Before Jake could stop her, Zara dropped gracefully to her hands and knees on the workshop floor, her back arched in what she clearly thought was a dance position. Her blue skin seemed to glow brighter with excitement. "Like this?" she asked, looking back at him over her shoulder. "Then the partner stands behind and moves in rhythm. But every time I try this dance alone, I feel as though I'm missing something essential." Jake's face had gone completely red. He stared at her for a moment, his brain short-circuiting as it tried to process the innocent way she positioned herself while asking about decidedly not innocent human activities. "Zara," he said carefully, his voice slightly strained. "That's not exactly a dance." She tilted her head, still on all fours. "A sport then?" "I noticed many of the images involved athletic activity." "Not a sport either." Jake ran a hand through his hair, desperately trying to think of how to explain this without corrupting her innocent view of human culture. "It's more of a private activity. Between adults who care about each other." "Private?" Zara's skin flickered through several shades of blue, a sign of her confusion. She gracefully rose to her feet, brushing off her simple tunic. "But it was prominently featured in your entertainment databases. How can it be private if it's so widely documented?" Jake realized he was in deeper trouble than he'd thought. "What exactly were you looking at?" "I was researching human bonding rituals," Zara explained matter-of-factly. "I found references to making love, getting intimate, and doggy style grouped together in many files. I assumed they were all different types of social dances or exercises humans perform to strengthen relationships." The innocent way she said "making love" nearly made Jake's heart stop. He sat heavily on his work stool, trying to figure out how to navigate this conversation without either lying to her or shattering her worldview. "Zara," he began slowly, "those terms, they all refer to the same basic human activity. It's how humans express physical affection when they're in love. It's intimate and private, usually between two people who care deeply about each other. Her eyes widened, and her skin shifted through several shades of blue and purple. Embarrassment, he'd learned. Oh. Oh. She covered her face with her hands. I have been researching human mating rituals. Yeah, Jake said gently. You have. There was a moment of silence broken only by the distant hum of the station's life support systems. Then Zara peeked at him through her fingers. This explains why the yoga instructor looked so horrified when I asked her to teach me the doggy-style pose, she said in a small voice. Despite the awkwardness of the situation, Jake couldn't help but laugh. You asked a yoga instructor about doggy style? She turned the most interesting shade of red, Zara admitted, lowering her hands. Her skin was now cycling through what Jake had learned was her equivalent of blushing, rapid shifts between blue and lavender. Rather like the color you turn when you're embarrassed, actually. Great, Jake muttered. I'm being compared to a traumatized yoga instructor. Zara stepped closer, her expression becoming more serious. Jake, I hope I haven't made you uncomfortable with my questions. I genuinely want to understand human culture, but I fear I may have chosen the wrong starting point. He looked at her, really looked at her. Her innocent curiosity, her earnest desire to understand his species, the way she'd been willing to make herself vulnerable by asking questions about things she didn't understand. There was something incredibly endearing about her approach to learning. You haven't made me uncomfortable, he said honestly. Just, surprised. Most people don't approach intimate topics with quite so much academic interest. How do humans typically learn about these things, she asked, genuinely curious. Jake considered this. Usually through experience. Or very awkward conversations with friends. Or, educational materials that are specifically designed for that purpose. Not through yoga instructors and cultural databases. Definitely not through yoga instructors and cultural databases. Zara laughed, a sound like silver bells. I believe I understand now why the database results were so contradictory. I was mixing educational content with entertainment content with instructional fitness content. That would definitely cause some confusion, Jake agreed. She moved closer to his workbench, running her fingers along the edge of his tablet. May I ask you something else? Sure, Jake said, though he braced himself for another innocent but loaded question. If these activities are how humans express deep affection, she said slowly, and if they're meant to be shared between people who care about each other, how does one know when they've found someone worthy of such intimacy? The question was so earnest, so genuinely curious, that Jake felt something shift in his chest. He'd been attracted to Zara since the moment she'd walked into his workshop, but he'd assumed the cultural divide between them was too vast to bridge. Now, hearing her ask about human connection with such open vulnerability, he wondered if maybe the gap wasn't as wide as he'd thought. I think, he said carefully, it starts with feeling comfortable enough with someone to ask them embarrassing questions about their culture. Zara's skin brightened, shifting to a warm golden blue that he'd never seen before. In that case, she said with a shy smile, I believe I may have accidentally identified a suitable candidate. Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Yeah. Yes, she said, stepping close enough that he could smell her skin, like ozone and starlight. Though I should probably learn more about human courtship rituals before attempting any of the more advanced cultural practices. I'd be happy to help with your research, Jake said softly. Perhaps we could start with something less complicated than doggy style. Zara suggested, her eyes twinkling with humor. Jake laughed, feeling more relaxed than he had since their conversation began. I think I can manage that. Outside the workshop, the asteroid continued its slow rotation, but inside, two beings from different worlds had found the beginning of something that transcended cultural databases and universal translators, a connection that needed no interpretation at all. The Nebula Lounge was the kind of establishment that existed in the gray areas between civilized space and the frontier, dimly lit, filled with beings from a dozen different species, and serving alcohol that could either cure loneliness or cause temporary blindness, depending on your tolerance. Marcus had been tending bar here on Harmony Station for 2 years, and he thought he'd seen everything. Then Nyx walked in. She was Zephyrian, which meant she was tall, elegant, and had intricate silver markings that traced along her pale lavender skin like living tattoos. Her species was known for their telepathic abilities, though Marcus had heard they were polite enough to avoid reading minds without permission. What he hadn't heard was how absolutely stunning they were in person. Nyx approached the bar with fluid grace, her white hair flowing behind her like silk. She wore a simple black dress that somehow managed to look both modest and captivating. When she sat on the bar stool across from him, Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. "Good evening," she said, her voice carrying a melodic quality that made his name sound like a song when she read it off his name tag. "Marcus. I would like something to drink, please." "Of course," Marcus replied, suddenly very aware of how nervous he sounded. "What can I get you?" Nyx tilted her head thoughtfully. "I am unfamiliar with human beverages. Perhaps you could recommend something." This was his chance. Marcus had been perfecting his bartending skills for years, but more importantly, he'd been studying the art of flirting. He'd read books, watched videos, even practiced pickup lines in the mirror. He was going to be smooth, confident, and irresistible. "Well," he said, leaning casually against the bar, "for someone as beautiful as you, I'd recommend something sweet and dangerous." "Just like you." Nyx's silver markings flickered, a sign of confusion, Marcus would later learn. She looked around the bar as if searching for something. "I do not understand," she said politely. "How can you determine that I am dangerous? I have no weapons, and I am not affiliated with any criminal organizations." Marcus felt his smooth confidence wobble slightly. "No, I meant, it's a compliment. You're beautiful, and beauty can be dangerous to a guy's heart." Nyx's markings flickered again, this time in what looked like concern. "Are you experiencing cardiac difficulties? Should I call for medical assistance?" "No, no," Marcus said quickly, his cheeks heating up. "I'm fine. It's just an expression. I was trying to be charming." "Ah," Nyx said, though she still looked puzzled. "Human courtship rituals. I have been studying them, but I find them quite confusing." Marcus's heart skipped again, but this time for a different reason. She was studying human courtship rituals. That had to mean she was interested in humans, right? "Well," he said, attempting to regain his composure, "maybe I can help with your research. I'm something of an expert on human romance." He mixed her a drink while he talked, something with blue liqueur that would complement her coloring. As he worked, he launched into what he thought was his most impressive flirting routine. "You know," he said, sliding the drink across the bar, "I must be a snowflake, because I've fallen for you." Nyx accepted the drink with a graceful nod, then frowned. "But you are not a snowflake. You are clearly a human male, and this space station maintains a consistent temperature. There is no frozen precipitation." Marcus blinked. "It's a pickup line. A metaphor." "A pickup line," Nyx repeated slowly. "For picking up what?" "Not picking up things," Marcus explained, feeling his confidence deflate like a punctured balloon. "Picking up women. It's a way of expressing romantic interest." Nyx's markings suddenly brightened, understanding, Marcus hoped. "Ah. So you are expressing romantic interest in me?" "Yes," Marcus said, relieved. "Exactly. But your thoughts suggest you are quite nervous about this conversation and are concerned that you are failing to impress me," Nyx said matter-of-factly. Marcus froze. "My thoughts?" "Yes," Nyx said, taking a sip of her drink. "You are thinking about how you practice these lines in the mirror and how you hope I cannot tell that your hands are shaking. You are also wondering if I can read your mind, which I can, though I try not to intrude on private thoughts." Marcus felt his face go completely red. "You can read my mind?" Surface thoughts only, and only when you project them strongly, Nyx assured him. Your nervousness is quite loud, mentally speaking. Great, Marcus muttered, covering his face with his hands. This is going perfectly. Actually, Nyx said gently, I find your nervousness endearing. It suggests that my opinion matters to you, which is flattering. Marcus peeked at her through his fingers. Really? Really, she confirmed. Though I am curious about something. You keep thinking about getting lucky tonight. Is this related to probability mathematics? Because I could help you calculate odds if you are planning to gamble. Marcus nearly choked on his own saliva. Getting lucky isn't about, it's not gambling. It's about, oh God, this is awkward. You are becoming more nervous, Nyx observed, her markings shifting to what looked like concern. Perhaps I should clarify that I can only read surface thoughts, not deeper memories or private feelings. That's not helping, Marcus said weakly. What does getting lucky mean then? Nyx asked with genuine curiosity. Marcus took a deep breath. If she could already read his surface thoughts, he might as well be honest. It's a euphemism, he said. For physical intimacy. Between consenting adults. Nyx's markings went completely still for a moment, then began cycling through several colors Marcus had never seen before. Oh. Oh. She put her hand to her forehead. I have been misunderstanding many things, haven't I? It's okay, Marcus said quickly. Human expressions are confusing even for humans sometimes. No wonder the human male at the starport was so confused when I offered to help him calculate probability matrices, Nyx said, her markings now a steady shade of what Marcus suspected was embarrassment. He kept backing away from me. Despite his own embarrassment, Marcus found himself laughing. You offered to help a stranger with math after he mentioned getting lucky? I thought he was concerned about his odds at the gaming tables, Nyx said defensively. I am quite good with statistical analysis. I'm sure you are, Marcus said, his nervousness finally starting to fade. There was something charming about her literal interpretation of everything. But maybe we should work on your understanding of human euphemisms. Nyx looked up at him hopefully. You would help me learn. Absolutely, Marcus said. Though I should probably warn you, if you're reading my mind, you're going to learn that I'm completely smitten with you. Nyx's markings brightened again. Smitten. That means, afflicted with romantic feelings. Yeah, Marcus said softly. That's exactly what it means. Then I should inform you that I am also smitten, Nyx said, her voice carrying a warmth that made his heart skip. Though I must admit, I find the contradiction between your nervous thoughts and your confident words quite charming. You like that I'm nervous? Marcus asked, surprised. It shows that you care about making a good impression, Nyx explained. On Zephyria, we value sincerity over performance. Your nervousness is more attractive to me than your rehearsed lines. Marcus felt a weight lift off his shoulders. In that case, I should probably tell you that I have no idea what I'm doing. Neither do I, Nyx admitted with a smile. But perhaps we could figure it out together. I'd like that, Marcus said, meaning it completely. As the evening progressed, Marcus found himself relaxing more and more. Nyx's ability to read his surface thoughts actually made conversation easier in some ways. She could tell when he was joking versus when he was being serious, and she never had to guess if he was enjoying her company. Can I ask you something? Marcus said as he mixed her a second drink. Of course. Do you ever get tired of reading people's thoughts? Knowing what they're really thinking? Nyx considered this. Sometimes. Many beings think one thing and say another. It can be lonely, knowing that people are not being genuine. Is that why you came in here tonight? Marcus asked. Looking for someone genuine? Partially, Nyx admitted. But also because I am curious about human courtship rituals. Your species is fascinating, you have such complex social dances around romantic interest. Complex is one word for it, Marcus said with a laugh. Confusing is another. Yes, but also beautiful, Nick said softly. The way you put so much effort into impressing someone you care about. The way you practice words in mirrors because you want to say the right thing. It shows that love matters to humans. Marcus felt his heart skip again, but this time it wasn't from nervousness. You think what I was doing was beautiful? I think you are beautiful, Nick said simply, her markings glowing softly. Both your thoughts and your actions. Even your nervousness has a certain charm. You know, Marcus said, leaning closer, I think this is the part where I'm supposed to ask if you'd like to go somewhere more private. Are you asking? Nix inquired, her eyes twinkling. I'm asking, Marcus confirmed. Then I should tell you that I would like that very much, Nix said. Though I should warn you, I may need help understanding more human euphemisms. I think I can handle that, Marcus said with a grin. As they prepared to leave the bar together, Marcus realized that all his practiced lines and smooth moves hadn't been necessary. Sometimes the best way to connect with someone was to simply be yourself, nervous, awkward, and completely honest about your feelings. Even if they could read your mind. The underwater research facility on Thalassa gleamed like a jewel beneath the planet's endless ocean. Finn had been studying the planet's unique marine ecosystem for 8 months, but he'd never encountered anything quite like Vera before she'd literally swum up to his observation window 3 weeks ago. She was a nereid, one of the aquatic species that inhabited Thalassa's deeper waters. Her translucent skin had a pearl-like quality that seemed to glow with its own inner light, and her long, flowing hair moved like liquid silver even when she was out of the water. She could breathe both air and water, which made her the perfect liaison between her people and the human research team. What made her less perfect was her complete misunderstanding of human expressions. Finn, Vera said, entering his lab with that graceful gliding motion that never failed to make his heart skip. Water droplets clung to her skin like tiny diamonds, and her large, luminous eyes were bright with curiosity. I have been studying human courtship behaviors again, but I have encountered several confusing concepts. Finn looked up from his microscope, trying not to stare at the way the lab's lights played across her translucent skin. Over the past 3 weeks, he'd developed what could only be described as a massive crush on the alien marine biologist, but every time he tried to flirt with her, she took everything completely literally. What's puzzling you this time? He asked, setting aside his water samples. Vera moved closer to his workstation, her bare feet silent on the lab floor. She wore a simple, form-fitting garment that looked like it was made from woven kelp, practical for someone who spent half her time underwater. I have been reading about something called bedroom eyes, she said seriously. But I cannot understand the anatomy involved. Do humans actually have eyes in their bedrooms? Is this why you need so many different rooms in your living spaces? Finn blinked, trying to process her question. Bedroom eyes? Yes, Vera continued, consulting a waterproof tablet. The human database says that someone can give you bedroom eyes or look at you with bedroom eyes. I have examined several bedrooms in the residential quarters, but I have not found any independent ocular organs. Are they perhaps very small? Finn felt heat creep up his neck. Vera, that's not, bedroom eyes aren't actual eyes in bedrooms. Then what are they? She asked, tilting her head in that endearing way that made her hair shimmer like liquid moonlight. It's an expression, Finn explained, trying to keep his voice steady. It means looking at someone in a way that suggests romantic interest. Intimate interest. Vera's skin flickered through several shades of pearl and silver, her species equivalent of blushing. Oh. So it is metaphorical. Very metaphorical, Finn confirmed. This explains why the maintenance worker looked so confused when I asked him to show me his bedroom eyes, Vera said thoughtfully. He kept pointing at his actual eyes and saying they were just regular eyes. Despite his embarrassment, Finn couldn't help but laugh. You asked a maintenance worker to show you his bedroom eyes? I was conducting research, Vera said defensively, though her skin continued to shift through embarrassed colors. I wanted to understand the anatomical differences. Right, Finn said, still chuckling. Research. Vera moved closer, and Finn caught a whiff of her scent, like ocean spray and starlight. May I ask you another question? Sure, Finn said, though he braced himself for another innocent but loaded inquiry. Yesterday, you said I was hot, Vera said, her luminous eyes wide with concern. But I immediately checked my internal temperature regulation, and I was well within normal parameters. Do you think there might be something wrong with your thermal sensors? Should I call the medical team? Finn's face went completely red. He remembered that moment. Vera had been explaining some complex marine biology concept, her eyes bright with passion for her work, and he'd been so captivated that the word had just slipped out. Vera, he said gently, when I said you were hot, I didn't mean your temperature. Then what did you mean? She asked, moving close enough that he could see the way light played through her translucent skin. I meant you were attractive, Finn said, his voice softer now. Beautiful. Appealing. Vera's skin brightened, shifting to a warm, golden luminescence. Oh. That is quite nice. Yeah, Finn said, looking into her eyes. It is. They stood there for a moment, the only sound the gentle hum of the facility's life support systems and the distant sound of Thalassa's ocean currents. Then Vera spoke again. Finn, may I ask you something personal? Of course. Are you romantically interested in me? She asked with typical Nereid directness. Finn's heart hammered against his ribs. Yes. Very much so. Good, Vera said with a smile that made her entire face luminous. Because I have been romantically interested in you since the day we met, but I was not certain how to express this using human customs. You don't need to use human customs, Finn said, stepping closer. Just be yourself. In that case, Vera said, her skin beginning to glow brighter, I should tell you that in Nereid culture, we express romantic interest through bioluminescent displays. As she spoke, her skin began to pulse with soft, rhythmic light, patterns that reminded Finn of gentle waves or distant stars. It was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. That's incredible, he breathed. Do you find it appealing? Vera asked, her voice uncertain. I find it breathtaking, Finn said honestly. Vera's glow intensified, and she moved even closer. In my culture, we also express affection through water-sharing rituals. But I am not certain how to adapt this for an air-breathing partner. Maybe we could figure out a compromise, Finn suggested, his voice barely above a whisper. I would like that, Vera said softly. Their first kiss happened at the edge of the lab's observation pool. Vera had suggested they move to the water, and as they kissed, she pulled him gently into the shallow end. Finn felt the warm water close around them, and somehow, kissing Vera while partially submerged felt like the most natural thing in the world. When they broke apart, both were breathing heavily. Vera's skin was pulsing with soft, steady light, and her eyes were bright with joy. That was educational, she said with a shy smile. Educational? Finn asked, amused. I learned that human courtship rituals are much more pleasant when properly understood, Vera explained. And I learned that kissing underwater creates interesting pressure dynamics. Finn laughed, pulling her closer in the warm water. Trust you to find the scientific angle in romance. Is that not appropriate? Vera asked, suddenly concerned. It's perfect, Finn assured her. It's perfectly you. As they floated together in the observation pool, Thalassa's ocean currents flowing gently around the facility, Vera asked one more question. Finn, there is one more human expression I do not understand. What's that? What does it mean to make waves? She asked innocently. Finn looked at her, this beautiful, brilliant, completely literal alien who had somehow stolen his heart with her innocent questions and scientific curiosity. He thought about all the waves she'd already made in his life, all the ways she'd changed his world just by being herself. I'll show you, he said softly, and kissed her again as the gentle waves of Thalassa's ocean lapped around them. Later, as they sat together at the edge of the pool, Vera's skin still glowing softly in the dim light of the lab, she made an observation that would stay with Finn forever. "I think," she said thoughtfully, "that the most beautiful thing about human expressions is that they allow you to say so much with so few words. Even when I misunderstand them, they reveal how much humans value connection and affection." "And what do nereid expressions reveal?" Finn asked, watching the gentle pulse of light across her skin. "That love is something that glows from within," Vera said simply. "And that when you find the right person, you cannot help but shine." As the twin moons of Thalassa rose over the endless ocean, casting silver light through the facility's windows, Finn realized that sometimes the best relationships were built not on perfect understanding, but on the willingness to learn each other's languages, whether those languages were made of words, light, or the simple desire to make someone smile. And in the depths of an alien ocean, surrounded by wonders he was only beginning to understand, Finn had found something more precious than any scientific discovery, someone who made him want to shine too.